From sunrise to sunset, recycling is more than a job. It's a way of life. Early mornings, late nights, hard work that turns the old into something new. Recyclers power the economy, and ReMatter is built to power you. Making those long days easier with smarter tools like scale ticketing, payments, dispatch, and everything in between. We bring it all together so you can focus on what matters most, growing your business and serving your community. Driven by the spirit of recyclers everywhere. ReMatter. Built for recycling. Built for you.
Long. Welcome back to ReMA 2025 live stage. That's been done. That really was all that was on the piece of paper. All right, guys. I'm really excited to get you two together for us and give us some words of wisdom. Can I get this a little bit higher, please, if possible? Sorry, never said that before because I'm always like the shortest guy in the room. Normally it's like, can you guys make this lower? Thank you. That's perfect. Good one, thank you. No, it's in my face, sorry. There we go, that's perfect, thank you. Okay, guys, so we're doing the Born Scrappy, which is my podcast. We're going to go live now. And I decided to ask, you guys feel so far away, I might have to try hold your hand later. I wanted to bring on Sarah and Sam, and they'll just give an introduction to them of who they are and what their experience is, etc. We'll get into that shortly. But the idea of this episode is going to be talking about what the future of our industry starts to look like. And I'm not just talking technology, we're talking to two people that are going to be around for the next 50 years, 40 years in the industry and taking over really large companies and how they look at how the industry is changing, right? Because when you are in your late 20s, 30s, I actually should have probably asked, mid-30s, you're now planning for the future and you know, a lot of people are answering to the previous generation and everyone's really excited about AI and we all hear about it, but how do you start planning now is kind of what we're going to go into, how we start planning now for what the future looks like. So if you guys can just, Sarah, we'll start with you. Definitely beauty before Sam. If you can just tell us a little bit about the company, how you got started in it and what your role is today.
So Potomac Metals was founded in 1996. We're out of Sterling, Virginia. I operate 10 facilities, 2 very large wire chopping lines, and I broker material from all over the world. 30 years ago, my dad started this business on a hope and a prayer. He didn't have a GED, didn't have any money. He took a chance, and he opened the first facility in Sterling, and now we have 200 employees that I oversee every day, and I take the lead on non-ferrous trading at our yards.
Awesome. Sam?
Nice. Sam Padnos with Padnos Recycling. Company was founded in 1905. I'm 4th generation with the family business. Ferrous, non-ferrous, paper, plastics, electronics. We have 33 facilities, about 800 team members at this time here, and based in Michigan and Indiana. My responsibility is really on non-ferrous trading, and I'll just tell you how I got into it. It was really my cousin Jonathan, who is more on he's the president and CEO of the company now, and he was really on the plastic side of the business, and I thought I was going to get into the plastic side of the business when we were compounding and extruding at a facility in northern Indiana. And as I spent some time getting into the business, I had an opportunity to kind of go throughout and work in many different departments and get some experiences, and I quickly gravitated towards non-ferrous as there's opportunities for international trade and material travels a little bit further throughout the country. And my day-to-day responsibility is really overseeing the non-ferrous trading with a few colleagues.
Seeing that we're at ReMA and we talk about all materials, there's nothing wrong with plastic. You just happen to have landed up on the non-ferrous world. I've also been on the metal side forever. So I've got one question to start with for you guys, and hopefully we can put some context to the theme here. And that's, when you close your eyes, what does the industry look like in 20 years' time? And that can go anywhere. Like, I'm not like, well, now we've got robots. I mean, if you want to go robots, that's cool. But really, because you are the future of your companies. You're the future of the industry. You have to be thinking about this all the time. If we just kind of sit back and wait for it to happen to us, we're going to be 20 years and doing the exact same things without any sort of efficiencies. Although the people that are getting more efficient and doing better things are going to way surpass us, right? So answer that for me, Sarah. Like, what does it look like in 20 years' time?
Yeah, so I think 20 years, maybe less. This industry is going to have a seat at the table, and we're going to have a seat at the table next to policymakers. Everywhere else in this country, they're going to be asking for our opinion. We are the bottom of the food chain in many conversations of a circular economy, but we are making this economy whole, and I think you'll start seeing more of that, and recycling is going to be a household name. It's not going to be scrap anymore, and we're going to be a huge part of what's going on.
Damn you.
So just to follow up, I completely agree with that sentiment as well. I think that traditionally the scrap recycling streams, the people that were involved in the business, there was kind of this not necessarily it was not necessarily looked down upon, but it was always seen as like a dirty business. Now we're turned to as people look for their various sustainability goals, carbon reduction, et cetera, they're looking to us just as Sarah mentioned, really as the subject matter experts there. And I think that we're going to continue to see that come more to fruition here, especially as people try to seek out their goals for just a circular economy as well. But I think that it's critical right now just to be extremely open to different technologies that are out there, whether it's AI. We're seeing some pretty rapid transformations within many different industries, especially the recycling industry as well. Anywhere from just like how things are traded, with Stu and the Buddy platform there, but anywhere throughout the organizations, down to the team members and making people being as efficient as possible in their workspace.
It's easy for me to double click into what you just spoke about, Sam, but I'm gonna really stick with Sarah. And it's easy to say that in 20 years' time, we're going to have a seat at the table, right? The next thing we know, we're going to, wipe the sleep out of our eyes. It's going to be 20 years' time. And if we haven't done anything, we're not. So how do you ensure that we have that seat at the table? Like, what are you doing now, knowing you're the next generation, to ensure that your company and the industry is going to have a seat and they are going to listen to us when we want certain policies in place or need?
So the first part of that, I think, is we have to be willing to get involved in these hard conversations. ReMA does a great job. Our team was just at the legislation day down in DC and, advocating for new policies and change amongst the industry. I think the next part is getting involved in your community. Personal ways we do this is we go to local schools, we reach out to certain teachers, a lot of them we met here at the convention, and we try to get involved with the classroom. It starts there, changing the image of the recycling industry of, it's not just the dirty scrapyard, it's this whole big circular economy, and we're just the beginning piece. And how can you help and be a part of that?
And so then I want to ask, other than that, is there anything else that you see for this generation coming through that you can identify as broken in the industry that the next generation needs to kind of fix? And yes, we've got how we're seen out there. Is there anything else that you kind of want to focus on to make sure that we do get to, the places we hope to get to?
I could take that. So I would say I'm not sure if there's really anything like fundamentally broken with our industry. We see a lot of like disruption and new ways of processing, et cetera. But I think what the foundation, really, to Sarah's point, is it comes down to making sure that you're educating people there, and starting young as well, just so people get an understanding as far as what can and cannot be recycled there, and be open to be able to have those tough conversations with people as well, just to be really giving them an idea that, and touring your facilities as well is also very helpful into that whole educational piece, because it's like they need to see what we do here, and we need to really be working with people as far as how to design things for recyclability as well.
Talking about design, right? There was really a good reason why I invited you to talk with me today, and it wasn't because everybody else said no, although they did. Just kidding. What I need to understand is I want to go into a few of the tactical things so that when people leave, they go, wow, that was a great thing that I can implement today. So if you were to design a metal recycling yard from scratch, right? And now it's like the whole hat of the next generation. You come in, what would you do differently, whether it's equipment, people, supply chain, transport, whatever that might be? How would you rethink or rejig that now?
So I'll jump in. I think first and foremost, we're big on the retail side of the industry, and we designed a lot of our facilities after the brew-throughs in North Carolina. So making that first entrance for someone from the outside coming into your facility big, easy to get to, easy to understand. If you've never been to a yard, where do you go? What do you do first? And then from there, equipment, nice upgraded, clean equipment, clean facility, organized. At our warehouses, we have a primary warehouse for coppers, another one for aluminums and secondaries. I think it's important to see a clean facility. On the outside looking in, again, you're trying to change the image of this industry itself. It's important to represent that in your yard. The next part of that is your team. Your team's got to be bought into what you're doing and know that there's a bigger picture here than a homeowner trying to make a couple bucks. You're helping the future and having a good experience. Jesse Cole spoke to it today. Is every visit you have should be a great experience. They should leave with a great impression.
It's a really great question that you pose there. If I close my eyes, like, what does it look like here if you were to design a recycling facility from scratch? I think to Sarah's point again, it's really, you get to make things very, very, very easy and intuitive. Proper signage, cleanliness in facilities as well. People don't want to go into facilities and have to risk popping a tire or just have any confusion when they are. They want to be able to go in, get out in a timely fashion here. But I mean, you could design facilities. If we're talking about like a single, recycling facility there, or if you're talking multiple recycling facilities, you can have different conversations, obviously. If we're talking about having multiple recycling facilities, I think that you could very much see kind of like that franchise model where it's just like every single thing. It doesn't matter if you're going to a facility in San Diego or if you go into a facility in Los Angeles. I mean, they're all going to be very, very similar, same interactions, obviously pricing, whatever. We don't need to get into that. But, just similar hospitality and just that customer service aspect.
I actually had the luxury of 7 years ago setting up a brand new yard, and I'm not talking about, it was a brand new business, so I could rejig everything. I'd come from running 85 yards, which I'd taken over in South Africa. We employed 4,200 people, to moving to New Zealand and literally building a greenfield. And I had the pleasure, which a lot of people wouldn't say, of working with my wife. Not that they didn't like her, but maybe you don't like your wife to work with. And she came from with an outside view. And the first thing we did when we wanted to design the customer experience was she got her friends to go to all the opposition in the area and sell scrap. And they were selling pots and pans, whatever they could find around their house, and they documented their experience. And it was crazy. We had 15 experiences come back, and almost every single one had the same outcome, which was they didn't answer, and these are just some tactical things, they didn't answer the phone, right? Which was like the first time I phoned for a price, they just didn't answer. Some of them took 5 phone calls, some of them were on hold for 45 minutes, whatever it might be. So that was one thing. The other thing was every single person that delivered felt intimidated when they walked in. Because these are people that are coming into a space that's uncomfortable for them. They don't know what to do. And usually there's some big burly guy shouts at you, put that over there, right? And this was like, we got that experience. So what we did was we said if McDonald's could do it, we can. And we created a drive-through. Literally you arrive, and wayfinding, you talk about signing. Like when you know where to go next, everything feels more comfortable. If you've never been into a metal recycling yard before and you have no clue where to go, it's intimidating. So we had these big signage, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you drove in, you knew number 1, push the button, you will get told which scale to go to through an intercom. Please go to scale 1. And you go to scale 1. Somebody there would offload with a smile. Hi, lovely to see you. Let me help you. Let me offload the trunk. Whatever it might be. Oh, did you know you can get this as an upgrade, etc., etc., etc. Number 3, you go to the teller, and we hired her from a coffee shop because every morning she was there at 5 a.m. with a smile on her face, and she treated me really nicely. She knew what my order was, so I knew that she had great customer service. You can even go look at it now. It's Endless Metals, not my company anymore, but it's still sitting on 4.9 stars with over 1,000 ratings, right? That's unheard of. Find me another scrapyard that has anywhere close to that. A little tip, we asked people, how would you rate us? And if they gave us anything more than a 4, we asked them to please rate us on Google through a tech process. So you didn't get the ones from 1 to 3, they didn't actually get to rate us. Anybody had a good experience got to rate you, right? Great way. And that was just a flywheel that got more people, because when people want to look who they're going to sell to, they go onto Google. Like they go and look at who's got the best ratings. And we by far, we now advise 2 companies in New Zealand because that's not our company anymore, how to basically do what we did. And that's because Lisa came in with a total different view and kind of rejigged, how you might do that. Sarah, you speak about, I realize how important customer experience is for you. Is there anything there that resonates with you that you've actually seen customers either have a good time or a bad time where you've got involved?
Yeah, so a lot of the time, again, our retail space is big. A lot of the times it's just a misunderstanding between the customer, what they have. Every customer thinks they have gold. And trying to explain to him, hey, why is this copper wire not bringing a bare bright price? Like that's easy to explain, but maybe they don't want to hear it from my buyer that is probably disgruntled after 10 minutes of this. So I love to jump in and work with customers and just explain to them in a kind way. And hey, if they don't like it, always tell them, what can we do better next time to make your experience more valuable? And usually that feedback is where we find a good relationship and we can build off that.
One of you are nodding. It might have been you when I said we answer the phone, like people don't answer the phone. How do you ensure you answer the phone, either of you? How do you actually ensure that? Because everybody wants to answer the phone. No one's out there going, oh, you know what? Like, I don't really care if my customers don't get through to us. Everybody wants to, but 99%, maybe 90%, of metal recyclers don't. How do you guys ensure you do?
So I'll just tell you, everyone likes metrics and data, right? Especially now, more so than ever. So one of our KPIs is we track, how many rings it takes for a customer to actually get with a live person there. So if it's more than 3, it's like, we'll dive into that data there, see like what exactly happened, why is there a delay, just so we can identify the root cause and, essentially make our own internal corrective action there so that we can make sure we're providing the best possible customer service there. Because at the end of the day, people just want to talk to a live human too.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think Jesse Cole said today, H2H instead of B2B or B2C, and it's human to human. And if you kind of consider that as, one of the most important parts of what we offer as a service, it changes a lot of how we interact. We actually hired 3 people to answer our phone in our small company. We gave them other work to do, but their number one thing was if somebody else was on a call, they had to answer a call, and we use data for all of that. Another little tactic we used, which was super helpful and helped us with ratings, even if a customer didn't end up selling to us, we got 5-star ratings. And that was because Lisa expressed to them that if somebody phones, your objective is to solve their problem, even if they have the wrong freaking number, right? So it would always be like somebody's like, hey, do you know I can get such and such? And the people who answer the phone would go, unfortunately, you're through to like, who so-and-so, but let me quickly Google for you and give you the number of who you're looking for. And we would get 5-star ratings of people that never sold to us because they'd be like, that's the most incredible service I've ever had. Like, I've never experienced that from somebody, but it absolutely blew people away. I wanted to ask you, next generation, you've gone through the period of coming into a company as a young buck. Now, want to make a name for yourself, big, bright future. What does the previous generation not know about your experience? What would surprise them to hear of what you've either been through or what it's like right now?
So I'll jump in. I think, again, my family was never college educated. When I came into the business and I had a college education and I understood like the fundamentals of accounting, and I could teach, my dad or brother at the time, like, hey, our books are a little off. We're pretty big to be running them this way. Try it this way. I think it just brought a different outlook and opinion in, and also giving value to marketing the business. Previous generation, there was this huge resistance to putting yourself out there and taking the risk and, hey, spending a little bit of money on marketing. And there's been a huge ROI and a huge shift on how people look at, our company because of that.
It's a really good question. It's tough for me to really answer because, like I said, I'm 4th generation. 3rd generation has always been like very much looking at, hey, what's next? What's possible? What can we do to improve and polish the apple a little bit further there? So that's, I don't really have a good answer for that, unfortunately.
I expected that from you, Sam. Just in general, that you would. What's one like traditional belief in this industry or practice in the whole recycling industry that you think needs to be completely left behind? Like, what do we just need to stop doing today? Whether it's in your business, other people's business, or what you see all the time.
I would say, for us, it's like, don't don't be afraid to say no to people, even if it's like a big customer as well. You know what you can and cannot do as well there. So I would say, like, as as there's transitions in different generations, some people are, find it a little bit difficult to have those tough conversations there. I'd say, if you've got problems, you got to be able to go and just like head on and go and identify those there. That was a little bit different from your question.
Yeah, no, that's good. I want to just double click on that quickly. Are you talking about inter-company, like inside the company, be able to, stand your ground when you're younger, or even with customers, or where is it?
I would say it's really both there. I've just as an example, we've got a couple customers that we do a lot of business with, they're OEMs or tiers. And they kind of tell you where you need to be as far as a pricing standpoint, or there was some misunderstanding there, and you have to be able to stand your ground there. Just because at the end of the day, it's your business that you have to protect there. So, but I would say internally as well. I mean, it's like your most important. You need to really manage your time accordingly there, and it's very easy to say yes to everything and then just be completely inefficient.
You say stand your ground. I like internally as well. We've got a client on Buddy that she's like the younger generation. Her father's still there running the show, and the father was like adamant that we trade over the phone. There was absolutely no way. It's going to ruin relationships, etc. And then she just said to me on the side, let's just do a couple. And she put an electric motors box up. And if you guys know the value of electric motors, she made $5,000 more on her first trade just by putting it on Buddy. And she went and took it to her dad. And she's like, so do you still want me to make phone calls? They now do every single trade on the Buddy platform, because the advantage is you can have relationships and technology as well. But the idea is that the older generation, sometimes you need to put your foot down and go, I know what I'm talking about here. And maybe if you give me the opportunity. But Sarah, I think you wanted to say something earlier as well.
Yeah, no, Sam, I think that's a different aspect than I was thinking about. The biggest for me, whether it's our staff or other customers, resisting change, right? Whether that's in a spec or, hey, like we started making an aluminum breakage package this year because we got so many downgrades, and there was so much resistance among the warehouse and a couple of our traders of like, hey, are we going to do this? Are we going to try it? And you have to try it. You have to be willing to change new technology, bringing in new people with different outlooks. You have to be willing to get with the times.
Technology, massive thing. I've just come from a talk upstairs all about that. What do you guys see really having a major impact? Is it AI? Is it the software systems? Are we talking robotics? Like, what are you as a company, your companies right now, really delving deep into?
I would say, for us at Padnos, it's really AI is what we're really focusing on predominantly. And not to say that we're not looking at just different machinery, et cetera, there, but AI, just if you just look at it from like one example that I have is, so we buy a lot of end-of-life vehicles there. And so you have to make sure you've got titles and everything, just the amount of paperwork. And you'd have like manual entry there. Now you can use AI, essentially you upload all these documents, it saves hundreds of hours right there. So you can just, by adopting and embracing, just the various aspects, you're able to save so much more time and have your team be so much more efficient.
Sarah, you guys?
Yeah, so I have a bit of a different one. Of course, AI is helping us. Our AI is actually integrated into our software, which is really cool now. And then the next part of that is we actually have a third-party assistant that runs our payroll services. She lives in Sri Lanka, and I think that technology and using those third-party services has helped me grow our business exponentially. Frees me up.
Yeah, I think AI as a whole is very intimidating for a lot of people. Like, the majority of metal recyclers have a on-premises ERP, what you guys would call software inventory system, and what that means is it's got a server still in your office. That's moving cloud-based, etc. So when people throw AI at you, it can be quite intimidating. The only thing I say to everybody is like, start really small, right, and look for efficiencies. We at Buddy, like Lisa, I'm not allowed to do anything without asking, could AI make this faster, right? And that's kind of our entire process, and all of our thinking runs around there. But if you're not, and I wouldn't be like that if it wasn't for Lisa, who was there pushing and shoving me, right? But if you don't have that person internally, you can become that person. And it's just asking the question, can AI help me do this faster? And if you can achieve, a half an hour more in your day, granted, I promise you by the end you'll get 3 or 4 hours extra in your day. But if you can get a half an hour extra in your day in the first few months, and every single staff member in your team can get a half an hour back. I mean, the efficiency is just unbelievable. So start somewhere is the only thing I want to say. Start somewhere, come and chat to me, come and chat to some of the others afterwards with some tips. We're not going to delve into a whole lot of that. You should have been at the talk earlier if you wanted to hear that.
I've got one more as well here. Just like you said, just dive into it and just learn to embrace it and just see what you can do as well. Another example we have is, just think about like a lot of the, your team members that have a lot of experience as well. If you want to create a work instruction and you're not going to have necessarily that team member just write down, here's exactly every single task. Now you can like take a video and you can just use AI and create work instructions. I mean, it's so much possibility out there.
Now we're going to go a little bit down this rabbit hole because it excites me a little bit. But just to give you guys practical examples. So we have a tech platform. This isn't a plug for my platform. It's how I used it. And every single demo, when I'm trying to sell to somebody and I show them how the platform works, we record it in a platform called Fathom. And what it does is it transcribes it for me. Now, the transcription, easy, you can get heaps of platforms that'll do that for you. What I've done is I've taken every single transcription and I've created my own chat GPT, my own GPT, and I've trained it through all of my demos. So if I put in 20 demos and it's heard every single question that somebody has challenged me during the demo, exactly how to run the demo. I hired 9 people last week. It was only my wife and I for 2 years. Last week we hired 9 people. I've literally created a GPT for all of them. For when they're doing a demo, they can ask it any questions. They can get a full script written up from all of my demos and all that. Now that is something that would take me months and months to train a sales team to do, and they now literally have every question answered on their phone. Now, that's not rocket science. Trust me, if I can be doing that, you can all be doing that very, very quickly. So that's just an idea of efficiency and how you can get back a huge, huge, huge amount of time. What tech are you guys betting on though? So like you're looking a lot of AI, but where are you guys going? This is where we're investing in our future. Where do you see the company strategically? Where are you focusing on?
So I'll jump in. I think for us, I have the same question to myself. It's not AI, but what can I automate here? What can I automate sorting-wise? What can I automate processing? So right now, we have 2 guys processing e-scrap all day long. We can automate a lot of that. So we're looking to bet, double down into the e-scrap processing, whether it's a depopulator or another furnace to process all that material.
So aside from AI, obviously we've got a partnership with Hydro Aluminum, for the LIBS technology that we've implemented now. And so, I would say now there's a lot of adaptation there. I mean, obviously you see the various manufacturers are here at this trade show as well that are selling this equipment. And I think that there's a lot of adaptation for circularity, being able to introduce more materials into the recycling, into the raw material streams as well. And I think that you're just going to see more of that just come to fruition. Now the challenge is, especially when you start getting into other material streams, like as an example, plastics. That can be a little bit challenging there. If you look at the various OEMs or tiers, they've got some pretty big aspirations as far as carbon reduction, sustainability goals. So I think that one of the challenges that we need to work on really is making sure that when you're having these conversations with their sustainability team or their recycling team, whatever their title is, you got to make sure that you also have the purchasing team right there in the same room, just so they're all singing the same song here.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I agree with everything you both said. I want to kind of just take a little move away from tech because we could seriously go on for a very long time. I want to talk about the next generation, even the one after you. Like, how are we bringing them in? How are we making ourselves cool enough? We're not the tech guys. We're not, we don't have all this AI usage and things. And how are you guys doing that? And how are you promoting yourselves? I hired last week, Jean-Paul, who's here with us today. I met him at an Atlantic City conference for ReMA, and he graduated from college last week. He immediately is using AI in everything he's doing. All of his training, we've got him on a training program through a course that we give all our people, and he's recording all of it and creating his own GPTs so that he can ask the actual lecturer who's training these courses by recording it. You can now ask it questions because it's learned from the lecturer that you've just watched the course. Like, that is, he's bringing that in, but he comes from a background where his father worked in metal recycling all his life. How are you guys attracting them that aren't necessarily with that background?
So, we just had our board meeting in April. And I'll just say from like a family perspective first here. So from like a family perspective, my nephew, he's going to be going to university here next year, 18 years old. And, we really embrace bringing some of like the next generation in and have them involved. I remember when I was younger as well, I remember just like having conversations with my grandfather and my father around the dinner table there. So it's like a kind of a unique perspective there from the family perspective there.
So Padnos's board policy is that the family must have more children and spread it out through generation. Nice. I see what you've done there.
Exactly. We've got to recruit very young. No, so that's an aspect there, and it was fun after like my nephew bring him after the board meeting, giving him the opportunity to actually go and tour around. It's like, okay, so we had all these conversations and everything. There's a lot of data thrown at you here, differences between buying from dealers, industrial accounts, the scale traffic as well, what we do as far as processing, but it's like really actually bringing them in to the facilities there, and again, it goes back to like what we said earlier in this conversation about educating people as well. And so like now you can transition over to like to like how do you recruit additional people as well. For us at Padnos, we really focus on education, partnering with, as an example, Grand Valley State University, where we'll actually have like engineers and we'll work with their team, bring them on as interns, and then hopefully they like what they're doing, and then they end up staying on. One of my colleagues, Derek, who you've met, he started off as an intern. We've had a number of people that started off as interns, so partnering with, local universities, but it's like even starting before that there as well, and bringing people into your facilities so that kids can get excited about this.
So on a smaller scale, I think, I don't know if you knew this, but I went to Grand Valley State, I played lacrosse there, and I reach out to our alumni director every year. Anybody looking for a job, anybody want to come see what I do, that's step number one for me always. But also posting about what we do on LinkedIn and just getting our face in front of the youth, whether it's, at the local soccer games, wearing a Potomac Metals t-shirt. My husband and his family do a great job of representing us, and just being really involved and showing people we're not that scary industry that people think we are, and we're friendly, we're doing well, come work here.
What are you looking for? Firstly, my big thing in South Africa was hiring people from my rugby club. I was like, they were hardworking people. Yep. They would practice, the ones that got to practice every single day on time. They work really hard. I hired a whole heap of them. Some of them turned out to be fantastic.
Run through some walls for you.
They'll run through walls for you, trust me, absolutely. They're those intimidating guys. They go, put it over there. No. What are you looking for when you're hiring these people? Because we're so desperate sometimes to hire. It's like, oh my God, you want to come in the recycling industry? We'd love to have you. Yeah. What are you actually looking for in people that you're hiring?
So 2 words for me: competitive greatness. I live our life by this. If you're not willing to compete with the best, we don't want you. And hey, Grand Valley Lacrosse, those girls want to compete. And I know their work ethic, I know they're hard, and whether they're doing it on the field or they want to come do it in your workforce, if you can get them to buy in to what you guys are preaching, it's gold.
You can tell pretty quickly, especially when you start going through the interview process there as well, who's going to be a good fit. I would say like, our business, you don't need to go to university, to, have a successful career or to even be in the recycling space at all, as I'm sure you guys all, have seen and witnessed here. So it's really, making sure that people have a good attitude, they're hardworking, and, we'll train for skills there. As long as they're, very willing and open to new responsibilities and new opportunities more so, that there is a fit, especially within the recycling space. It could be anything: logistics, IT support, you name it. There's so many different areas that can all be impactful to the business.
Yeah, and I always try and explain that early on. It's like, it doesn't mean just because you're working on the ground right now, it doesn't mean this is where you're going to end up. The amount of people I've seen go completely different directions than we expected. It's massive. When you're bringing in the next generation, when you're bringing these people in, how are you ensuring that they're going to be adequately equipped to perform in the future in a changing world, right? So I spoke about earlier, my team are all doing courses at the moment. A lot of it is tech sales and learning like how to sell in that sort of world and understanding how technology can help you. That's my side. I'm very different now compared to what you guys are doing operationally. What are you guys doing to make sure your guys are, always ahead of the cutting edge?
So, for us, I would say, a lot of people are, looking at like individual development plans, things of that nature, call it whatever you want, one pagers, et cetera, there. And it can be both personal and business related as well. Just so it's like every single quarter you're meeting with your direct reports as well, and you're just able to see, okay, where are you? Are you on track? Are you making some good progress here? But it's like making sure that they know that you're bought in and you're invested in their future as well.
And I'll add on. So I think for me, and on a smaller scale, we've got 200 employees. If I find one, my manager's recommending, hey, they're working their butts off, this kid's really bright, I go out of my way to take that kid under my wing and show them, what it could become for them, and then train them, find out their passions. Are you really into doing the electronics? Are you interested in growing this business in another way? And trying to connect on that and help them feel a part of.
Are you seeing any sort of shifts in where material is coming from? Or the quality of material, and you think that'll change over the next 10 to 20 years?
I think, obviously there's a lot of different, material streams and where they're coming from. As far as like the actual composition of material, is that going to change? Maybe to a certain degree it will. Obviously we see a lot of like closed loop type programs that are in place right now. As a recycler, I'm not nervous about that. I think there's always going to be a space for us, as far as processing there. I think the big thing is, and it goes back to like the secondary material stream and having, this material, cleaned up or further refined in order to be used as a raw material, not only for domestic consumption, but also for export as well, just to make sure that people are using, raw material that meets their specifications as well. And I think that you're going to see more adoption for people trying to, introduce more of this type of material streams, even if it's slightly different specification.
Sarah, you got anything?
You're good.
Yeah. So, I just kind of wanted to understand, what's the hardest moment that you've had to deal with in your experience and coming through as the next generation? Like, has there been a time where somebody's been like, nah, you're still young, you don't understand, and you've had to fight through that? Or, what has really molded you to be a better leader now than you were before?
So I'll jump in. I think for me, at 29, and again, my father passed away, and stepping into his role, and my brother stepped away as well, it's just me at the company. It's been a big learning curve, and everything I have is earned, right? Every employee we have is much, much older than me. At times, they look at me and kind of question what's going on, and I think that's when it's in me and in my heart to hit the ground running. If I want to change the process, I'll go in the warehouse, I'll start doing it. And I'll make sure it works, and I will show them I'm willing to put the work in, and you have to earn it from each and every person in the company. And then I think once you're in that respect, it comes a little bit easier.
So we touched on this maybe a little bit earlier there, but I would say like the biggest like learning experience that I had for like myself early in my career, and if I was like looking back and just reflecting on it, just like, again, it's, don't be afraid, if you have a problem, you need to go and face it head on there. So it's like, if there's anything that has to do with like contract negotiations, and if there's something different, if there's some sticky point, you need to run at that and don't just sit there and wait idly by. You need to go address that issue, and then you can obviously deal with it. Time when it comes to any issues, it's not gonna get better as it ages there. So you need to address that very quickly. And like I give myself that same advice. It's like run towards that problem and figure it out.
You said something earlier, which is almost like a swear word at the moment. That was export. I feel like you can't have any show right now and not ask about tariffs. So what effect is it having on your business at the moment? What are you planning, to get around it in the future? What have you done so far about it?
So, with the tariffs, I mean, that's the fun part about the business. It's not the tariffs part, but I would say the fun part about the business is, especially being on the commodity trading side, is, we're market makers. We will find the homes where material can go. There's a lot of unique opportunities when it comes to arbitrage and exploiting these opportunities as well. So I would say it's like, you got to be very, very in tune, be disciplined about looking at the markets, having the various connections, whether it's domestic, export, and even if you're not necessarily doing business, being able to at least share a dialogue as far as what people are seeing in different areas of the world. And that's the nice thing with technology now, quick WhatsApp text, quick conversation, quick, Teams message, whatever. It's just like the technology is right here where you have so much data there that you can be very dangerous with.
And you, Sarah?
I'll add on. I think, Stu, you had a great point in AC, and I've really taken this back to Potomac is find the opportunity, right? Is find where, your business can succeed in this. And like other businesses, we're looking to import material and trade off the COMEX, with a huge arbitrage. It makes sense. And find the opportunity where your company can stride and take a step above your competition.
Yeah, in South Africa many years ago, what seems like a previous life, they basically almost banned exports out of the country, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to my company. At the time, we thought it was the end because all the melters and the consumers would now buy direct from the OEMs, and we were the largest metal recycler in town, or in the country, and we just went and bought a whole lot of copper foundries and found a massive opportunity. I think I was speaking to you at one of the events, and all of a sudden, you were bringing material into the US, which you had never done before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's opportunity that comes through this sort of volatility. So when you sit there, and I say this quite a lot on LinkedIn, if you sit there and it's like, woe is me because something has happened to me, if you turn that around and like, where is the opportunity in this? Immediately your team kind of like sees things differently, and it's funny how things just come out. I mean, how did you guys come up with, bringing in, were people offering it to you? Was it just that the team sat around and saw the opportunity?
No, I would say, like, first off, I'm a firm believer that coming to, conferences like this, all it takes is like one new connection, one conversation, and it can make a pretty significant changes. Now, obviously, these events are pretty, expensive as well, so you got to be, very, financially, prudent with it. But it's really just having the very diverse network and being able to exploit it, and just having a conversation, be like, at Padnos and other companies, I'm sure you do a lot of collaboration with your team as well. But when we're looking at COMEX and LME as an example, and just like that crazy arbor, I think I went up to like 72, between LME. It was pretty wild. So we're seeing this, and my cousin Jonathan and others on the leadership team, like, we're just like, something is going on here. We need to figure out what is the opportunity, and keep challenging each other to just like find out what's the opportunity and how can we exploit this.
And there's a great saying, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around. So if 5 people around you are being negative and woe is me because the tariffs are in place, you and your whole team will be thinking the same. If you sit around a board and they're thinking like Padnos and they're going, there's something in here for us, we've just got to find it. It's funny how you will achieve that, right? Like that, but it's that mindset that has to change. Talking about mindset, let's just understand a little bit more about you two personally. Like, what does success look like for each of you individually, not necessarily your company? I just want to kind of get into your own mindset.
I think success defines itself in not only keeping the doors open for the next generation, but leaving a legacy that, hey, people either respect you, you leave a legacy that you were kind, you were easy to work with, and that you worked really hard. If at the end of the day you can say you gave it all you got, to me that's success.
Everyone wants to, some people might define success as, being, record profits, et cetera. It's like, everyone, of course, wants to win. We're, if you're not in this business and not competitive, wrong business to be in. You're very competitive, and at Padnos, we're extremely competitive. But I ran into a former colleague here, actually. And I say that, for me personally, success for me is just having that lasting impression. So I ran into a colleague, and he's just like, hey, we left on good terms, and you called me, and I'll never forget that moment. I was like, that's exactly what I want to see.
Yeah, success so often revolves around people. Like, even if they do, fly from the nest, whether you're bringing people through internally or they're moving on, and when they're successful, you feel that success. You feel like you've achieved something. So it's great. For me, it's just a private jet. It's pretty simple. Come on, guys, give me. How do you guys stay hungry? You're competing every day. You need to be hungry as shit. And how do you stay humble at the same time? There's this fine line of coming out there hungry, aggressive, but also not look like having too much of an ego and attitude. How do you guys stay humble and get out there?
So for me,
this is for Sarah. He hasn't done this yet, so
no competitive.
Maybe you'd be better at this,
not
Sarah.
competitive at all.
The DC market is an animal, right? It's ultra competitive. Every job, there's a list of bidders. I'm walking jobs, and everyone's giving dirty looks to each other. And for me, I thrive in that and the competitiveness and knowing, hey, maybe I got beat out this time, but next time we're going to win that job. Whether it's a service I can provide, a price, a smile, an impression, I thrive in hearing that. So to avoid the fear of failure and just know you're doing the right thing, you're putting your foot forward, and never to fear the failure.
That's a really great point there. I would say, yeah, definitely don't feel fear of failure. That's great. You're just asking some really good questions here. It makes you actually.
So I'm really sorry about this, Sam.
So you've done this a few times.
This isn't like a school test.
No, I know. I'm just trying to reflect here and just on this. It's challenging just because you want to maintain. For me personally, it's just I've always been kind of humble. Like to fly under the radar. I don't need a big award or anything like that. Just kind of how I roll.
You've always been great at being super humble.
Yeah, I've tried to be. I try to be at least. But as far as like the competitiveness there, I was like, I've got an identical twin brother, right there. So it's like,
Right.
I mean, that helps for sure. And then, I've got a lot of other family members that are involved in the business, and we're all freaking competitive. We all want to win.
I can make this multiple choice if you'd prefer that. Much easier, just like B. So for me, for example, like I am completely driven by proving people wrong. So like I absolutely love it when somebody says, "Oh, you will never be able to change this industry to trade with technology." I'm like, well, what do you think WhatsApp and text messaging is? That is technology. You're making a phone call. Somebody once was like, no, we need to use, we'll never move on from carrier pigeon, right? like things are going to change. And I still have the people, I have the ex-president of Sims North America, Michael Mobsaz, who's like one of my favorite people in the world. He was the ex-mentor of mine, my ex-CEO. And when I told him what I was going to do in New Zealand, he was like, Stu, like, you're mad. Like, don't even think about it. It'll never change. And he's like, just get into trading. Like, that's what I brought you in the company in South Africa to do. Like, that's your gig. And then I did a demo for him like 6 months ago. And he's like, oh my God, you're going to change the industry. And like, he was the driving force. But then it was cool because then I got to come to ReMA and hear a whole lot of other people say, oh, you'll never do this. So at least I got some other people, some more fuel. Like, I go looking for it. And it really does. I think the same in like sport. You've probably felt the same in sport. When somebody doesn't believe in you, it's like, you can even get you down, or like, I will show them how good I can be. And that's like what drives me. I haven't yet learned to be humble, but I'm working on that like you, Sam. I wanted to ask you guys, kind of, we're running out of time. If you could speak directly to the younger you can go back in time, you're starting out in the company, what are the tips? Because hopefully the next generation who's listening to this can kind of take something from there. But what would you tell yourself?
I would say, for me, it's just like be extremely, not only me, but I would say for like anyone, be very, very open to just new, trying things new, get comfortable being uncomfortable, go and go travel to BIR, go travel to all the various industry events, go travel and visit that customer that you've never met with, or they don't return your phone calls. Just go knock on those doors. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail at all.
Like, failing's a good thing.
Yeah.
Teaches you so much. We don't lose, we learn. Sorry, Sarah.
I think for me, it's kind of believe in yourself and believe in the vision of, continue to growing the business. And, at 16, 17, I didn't see a seat for me at the table as a woman in the industry. And, now I see one, and I can see where there's a huge platform for us now and to grow this thing.
So we always end off Born Scrappy in the same way. And if you've never watched the episode, you're going to be surprised by this. Sorry, Sam. I'll make it multiple choice for you. But we just want to get to know you guys a little bit more personally. I think we've got to know you guys quite well. But what's your favorite TV series or movie? Should I make this multiple choice?
No, I'll get something here.
I'll get something. Sarah, do you want to go?
I'll help you out. We're watching Love on the Spectrum right now. It's really cute. It's my favorite show. It puts you in a good mood. You should watch it if you haven't. It's awesome.
I would say, for me, I've always loved like the Entourage series. I just love that. I mean, it's just like it's a relatively old there, but it's like, we'll go back and forth, and I'll like rewatch some of that. But as far as some of the newer episodes right now, so everyone's watching like 1943 and all those various things about being a cowboy and just like being out in Montana and just like having a very, very, very difficult life and just going out and making it on their own. So
you could definitely be in a character in Entourage. 100%. I like Ari Gold for me, but you could have been definitely somebody else there. Maybe the guy that drives the car for him. Favorite place to visit?
Favorite place to visit? Lewes, Delaware, by the Cape May Ferry. Family time. We've got a house out there. It's lovely.
So my wife and I, before we, had our first child, we were always making a plan. We always wanted to travel and go somewhere international once a year, just like go on a trip. So far, I would say that my favorite place that I've been is Greece. Went to Santorini and just traveled around there. I mean, that was great. I mean, I would say a close second. I mean, it's really different. I also went to Egypt, and that was amazing as well. Going through the tombs and everything. I mean, that was amazing.
That's cool.
There.
Look, this one's probably just for Sarah because he doesn't read good. But have you got a favorite book?
I do. The Grand Valley Way by Tim Selgo.
Is that a private joke?
No, this is a really good book. Tim Selgo is the most winningest athletic director in history, and he has a couple books. The Laker Way about competitive greatness. Whenever I'm down, having about a week, I open a couple of pages, reread it, and it drives me.
Amazing. Awesome. Sam?
So not necessarily a recent read here, but we, not only, it wasn't really a pleasure read, I would say. It was that we just said, hey, all of our team members, we want you to read this. It was The Boys in the Boat there. And it's like, all about like rowing.
Is that the one they made? Was that the movie that they made from that?
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Great. I don't know how to read.
So Stu, if you don't want to
I
watch, if you don't want to read it, you watch the movie.
Damn it. I listened to the book. Lastly, have you guys got a favorite quote that you sometimes throw around at work or at home or something that always comes out your mouth and you're like, yeah, that sounds like Sam or Sarah?
So I've got this. So I would just say, like, being in the commodity trading, side, I would say for the most part, inventory doesn't love you back.
That's very cool. I love it.
A little less related. Chop wood, carry water.
That's a good one too.
Awesome. All right, guys, on that note, this has been lots of fun. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sam. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.